Have you ever stopped to wonder, what if Elon Musk, the guy behind rockets, electric cars, and chaotic late-night tweets, had never become an entrepreneur? What if instead he chose a quiet life, locked away in a lab, surrounded by equations and gadgets instead of investors and journalists? No Tesla, no SpaceX, no Twitter or X. Just a brilliant mind, a lab coat, and a worn-out notebook filled with ideas the world might never see. Let's paint the scene. Elon, slightly messy hair, wearing a white lab coat stained with coffee and chemical drops, hunched over a cluttered desk under flickering fluorescent lights. One hand on a stylus, the other clutching a half-drunk cup of cold brew. It's 2 a.m. The world's asleep, but he's wide awake, chasing a theory no one's even imagined yet. He's not tweeting, he's not pitching, he's not networking, he's experimenting, thinking, building. Now pause for a second, because the real Elon Musk, the one we know, is a storm of action. He dreams big, and then somehow makes it happen. He doesn't wait for permission. But what if he did? What if, instead of stepping into boardrooms, he'd buried himself in books and scientific journals? What if his wild mind never met the marketplace? Maybe, instead of designing reusable rockets, he'd be writing the next big theory on quantum propulsion. Maybe, instead of launching satellites, he'd be working on manipulating space-time. Maybe he'd be the next Einstein, hiding out in the Icelandic countryside, publishing papers no one understood until 50 years later. That version of Elon wouldn't show up on Forbes or Time magazine. He wouldn't have 1 million retweets. He'd be cited in obscure academic journals, the kind with Greek letters in the title and 10 readers total. But those 10 readers? They'd be building the future based on his work. The truth is, even from a young age, Elon had two sides, the scientist and the builder. As a kid, he taught himself how to code, sold his first video game, and devoured physics textbooks. He wasn't just curious, he was obsessed. But he didn't stop at theory. He wanted to apply it. Change the world, not just understand it. That's what pushed him out of the lab and into the world. But let's keep imagining. Suppose the scientist in him won that inner battle. Suppose Elon never chased funding, never built companies, never stood on a TED stage. What would we have missed? Would Tesla exist? Probably not. Would electric cars be where they are today? Doubtful. Would rockets still be single-use, burning up after one launch? Most likely. Would Mars colonization even be a real conversation outside of sci-fi? Unlikely. But on the flip side, would we have gained something deeper? Maybe Elon would have unlocked the secret to clean, limitless energy. Maybe he would have discovered a new state of matter. Maybe he'd have written a paper that unified quantum mechanics and general relativity. Not as a business pitch, but as pure knowledge. Would the world be better? Or just different? The thing is, people like Elon bend reality. Whether they're out front with a microphone or hidden behind a microscope, they shift the world. But their impact takes different forms. The entrepreneur brings dreams into existence. The scientist expands what we know. And sometimes, the world needs one more than the other. Now ask yourself this. Would a reclusive Elon, a lab-bound Elon, have inspired millions of kids to learn about rockets? Maybe not. But he might have sparked a whole new generation of physicists, dreamers of the deep unknown, people who don't want likes or funding, just truth. And maybe he wouldn't have started OpenAI or tinkered with brain chips, but maybe he would have created a theoretical framework for consciousness itself, something that helps us finally understand what it means to be sentient. Imagine this version of Elon creating an artificial mind, not just a smart assistant or chatbot, but a machine that could dream. A machine that didn't just respond to data, but had imagination. Sound far-fetched? That's the thing. For someone like Elon, imagination is step 1. Execution is step 2. And limits? Well, they're just optional. But we return to this question, because it's not really about Elon anymore. It's about how we shape our lives. We all have parts of us that are curious, parts that want to build, and parts that want to stay quiet and just think. Elon just happened to follow the loudest voice in his head. What if you didn't? What if you turned the volume up on your inner scientist? Because while the world needs visionaries like Musk launching things into space, it also needs minds working in silence, cracking the unseen code of reality. So here's the kicker. Maybe Elon Musk as a scientist wouldn't have gone viral. Maybe he wouldn't have been on Joe Rogan. Maybe he'd be sitting in a dusty office, working on the math behind consciousness. But maybe, just maybe, that's the kind of work that changes the course of history, not loudly, but profoundly. And you? Which path are you walking? Are you the builder or the thinker? The creator or the questioner? Or maybe, just maybe, you're both. Just like Elon.